Hey, welcome to Bear Mountain today. What we're going to do in this thrilling episode, stay tuned, is we're going to open up some of our Jadam Liquid Fertilizer containers from this last fall and summer. These two containers, one of them was we did the video on making it using marigolds and zinnias, and the other is from grass. So let's get into it and see what we did. Okay, let's review some terms. JLF stands for Jadam Liquid Fertilizer. And if you remember from the video, and we've got a link on it, it was early October. Matter of fact, it was the 1st of October that we took our marigold trimmings and zinnia trimmings that we had lost in a windstorm, and we made the basis of our liquid fertilizer. We chopped it up, put it in our five-gallon bucket, added some azomite as well as biochar into it to kind of control the odors, as well as to retain as much mineral or content in there that we could, that it wouldn't off-gas out. We filled the bucket up 3/4 of the way, and then we filled the rest of it up with water. That was our well water, and it had no chlorine in it or anything like that. We were also, as we were adding in the layers of grass, we put in handfuls of what was called leaf mold soil. But in our case, what we were using was soil that was at the interface between the bottom of a well-aged compost pile over 6 months. And that soil has a lot of biologic activity in it, and that's what we use to help inoculate the Jadam liquid fertilizer, as well as the biology that was on the stuff that we were just putting in it. It's now been 3 months. Today is the 31st of December, so it's just almost exactly 3 months on this one, the container 3. And then we have a second container that we didn't do a video on, but I made 2 weeks later, taking a flush of autumn grass that was green, and as well as comfrey from our comfrey plants, and made what is called grass Jadam liquid fertilizer. And what that has in it is basic nutrients, a low level of nitrogen in it, but a fairly good general mineral content from the grass and the comfrey itself. So this one's been going 2.5 months. It has not as much stemmy type material in it as like when we made the one with the flower parts. So this one may be a little more advanced, but it's definitely, it should be ready to go. We're starting to fertilize our ranunculus and our anemones for this next blooming season. We've been doing it actually a little bit as we've been going with worm teas and things like that. But this is going to be used for soil fertilization. So we'll actually make a liquid fertilizer and then drench the plants down to the root level with it. So it's not a foliar feed. It's going to be used actually in the ground, the soil around the plants itself. So let's take a look at our first one. What we're going to do is we're going to open it up, kind of see what it looks like, and I'm sure that it'll have a slight smell. And then what we're going to do is we'll stir it a little bit to kind of mix it up in general. You don't have to, but we're going to do it just to kind of get any kind of semi-solids that might have settled out but could be captured in liquid form to kind of get back into the liquid itself. And then we're going to test the pH, and then we're going to actually extract some of the liquid out. And we'll do the same thing with the other guy too. So let's get started on that. Okay, so the first one we're opening here, this is the marigold and zinnia mix. And like I said, it's been sitting here percolating along in the sealed bucket. We originally had it outside for over a month before the freezing weather happened. And here we go, we're opening up. Oh yeah, it has a nice odor to it. We have a little bit of mold on the top, some oils and stuff.
Holy crud. That's the response you wanted, right?
Holy you know what. So we're going to stir it up a little bit. We'll stir it up. You can see some of the stuff is still in the process of breaking down, but actually a lot of it already has.
It's
Because-
actually now not smelling that bad.
No, it kind of goes away pretty fast.
It's just like the initial punch in the face.
Yeah. Now, what you don't want to do with this stuff is you don't want to get it on your clothes, and it's like any other kind of like fertilizer you'd use that's strong. This is really powerful stuff. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to get it on your clothes. You don't want to get it on your hands. If you do, it's going to take a while for it to kind of, you know, it's not going to hurt you from a standpoint like a chemical burn, but it's just the smell of it.
Okay,
will
and
stay
that's
with
getting
you.
strong again.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of mixing up the various things that are in here. Okay, so we got it mixed up. So let's test the pH. Now, this is just a rapid test pH meter, and we'll see what our pH is. And wow, it's no real acids in here at all. It's neutral, which is, I guess, what I would have expected.
But it's not right dead center neutral.
No, but it's it's right on the 7
Yeah,
mark.
I see
It's kind of
that.
fluctuating a little bit. Sometimes it goes a little bit above it, and sometimes it goes a little bit below it. But that indicates that it's 7.0. So it's neutral, which is good. Okay, which means, okay, we don't have any like funky acids in there. And that's kind of what I would have expected over time, that it would balance itself out. Now this will still continue, even if I take some material out of this thing, I'll seal it back up and it'll continue to percolate a little bit more. But what you could do if you needed it all, and probably is a way to do this, is you would extract all the liquid out of this thing, put in some fresh material if you had it. It doesn't have to be marigolds and zinnias again. You could then use something else, like maybe if you at that time had rose trimmings or things of that nature, things that weren't woody but that were green. You could add into it, and then again put the azomite, biochar, and the leaf mold on it, fill it back up to the top, seal it off, and let it go, even with the refuse left from the marigolds. So you don't have to like dump this all out and then, you know, start all over with a cleaned out bucket. Don't bother with doing it. First of all, you're never going to get the smell out of the bucket anyway, so it doesn't matter.
So this is not a bucket for hauling flowers anywhere.
No, it's not something you want to put a bouquet in it and hand it to somebody.
Unless you want a stink bouquet.
Okay, so what we're saying here is you can extract, as you know, in this case I'm only going to take a little bit out today.
And
But
what you're taking out is water.
I'm taking out the liquid with the materials that have decomposed into a very fine particulate level into
It's
it.
not
plus
like
any
the
other...
sticks that you're showing.
No, we won't take any of the solids out at all. The solids will stay in the bucket. So how we do it, you know, how do you strain this out without, you know, making yourself, you know, totally ill? Well, one method is, this is really high tech. We took a coffee can and we drilled some 1/4-inch holes in the bottom of it. And then what we have here is a paint strainer bag we got from Home Depot. And so we'll just put this on the outside of the can itself.
Should you be wearing gloves?
Well, you can if you want, but this stuff won't hurt you.
But you just said it won't leave you either.
Don't you want to be around me?
No.
Okay, there's multiple methods to how to do this, but the basics of what you're trying to do is create an environment in which the liquid is separated from the solids. And if you're doing this on a larger scale, as an example, suppose you had a tank of, I don't know, 25 gallons of this stuff or larger, you'd probably want to make something that was a little more robust and maybe even had a pump attached to it that you could then pump the material out instead of hand scooping it out. But today, for this 4-gallon bucket, we're just going to do it the old-fashioned way. As we talked about, the container with the net, and once we have it kind of like around it, notice I'm now wearing safety gloves because my wife, Mrs. Producer, reminded me I am cooking dinner tonight. So what we're going to do is we just like gently push it in, and what you can start to see is that the liquid comes up below into the container itself. And it's pretty much strained out any of the major solids in it. So once you get enough of it in it, then what you can do is just simply, use a scoop. This is just a 1 cup.
Wow, is it green?
Yep. And then we put it into our container. Now we're going to take out, I don't know, 4 or 5 cups today for this one. Let's see, we'll go with 4. Okay, so we got 4 of this one. Now when it's finished, you just kind of gently lift it out, and you can kind of like make sure it's all. What I'm going to do here is as much of it is out of as possible. I'm just going to dump the remainder back into the container itself. So now that one is done.
Do you have to clean anything to use the next one?
No, not really, because we're actually going to mix these guys together. And what I'm trying to do is create what would be viewed as a broad spectrum fertilizer. So I'm going to have this fertilizer that was made from the flowering parts of flowers and has minerals that are probably like calciums and things like that, more calcium in it than say just the straight grass comfrey fertilizer. But the comfrey grass fertilizer is more broad spectrum with a little more nitrogen in it. So the nitrogen level isn't that high. It's only going to be like probably 0.2%, something like that, in that nature. And it's probably even less in the marigold zinnia one. So the whole point of all this Jadam stuff is when you start thinking about the fertilizer, or you start thinking about microbiology, it's the law of small amounts make big waves. Okay, it's not a law, but it's basically a good way to think about it. Think about it like a pebble going into a pond, and that pebble creates a wave that just ripples out and goes further and further and further. It's the same idea. You don't want to use this stuff in huge concentrations at any one time. So what does that mean? Well, when you're applying it, as I apply it, I use it diluted between 1 to 200 and 1 to 300. That means 1 part of the fertilizer to 300 parts of water. And that may seem like, wow, that is really dilute. But the point is, what you're doing here with these materials is it's loaded with enough minerals and things that the biology will react to it around the plant roots, and it will help enhance the material going into the plant itself. So you can, apply this stuff heavier, but the heavier you go, you may run into other problems, creating an out of balance situation.
Is it kind of like better in layers? Like you put on one and then whatever time frame goes by, you put then another. It's
exactly.
Doing it slowly in layers.
You got it exactly right. The approach here is this: instead of giving a blast like you would with a chemical fertilizer, say, throw down my 16/16 and maybe I'll come back near mid-season and give it another blast of something similar. No, this is designed to be used slowly by the biology in the soil for the plants, and the plants will react to it over time. So 7 to 14 days usually is my time frame between adding fertilizers into the irrigation water or irrigating with it a diluted solution. And so I don't want to get any much closer than that. And that's very similar to the K&F practices for the foliar feeds, like for FPJs and things of that nature. Very small amounts given usually 7 to 14 days apart. But the idea is it's a continuity type thing. So the plants have a chance to adapt and start to use it. If it's too much, you could end up upsetting biology in your soil, which could have a negative impact on your plants. So that's real important. Always keep your doses low. Now we're going to open the grass and comfrey one, and we're going to see how that one looks. Now again, this one has a little more of nitrogen in it than the other one, so it might smell a little worse. And it does have a nice odor to it.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to Just stir it up. You can still see there's some of the grass there. That's why we do these things outside.
Gee, I wish my nose was really stuffed up.
So we're stirring it up, and then we'll do a quick pH test. Like I said, I haven't done pH tests on either one of these two, so we'll see where it's at. But I'm trying to get, you know, anything that's at the bottom kind of rotated up a little bit. And the grass, you can still see the grass, but what's interesting is the comfrey leaves have pretty much disappeared. Grass had a little more, I guess, cellulose in it. Yeah, it looks like we got it stirred up pretty good. Okay, let's check the pH and see where we are on this one. Hopefully, oh, we got a little bit of movement there. Nope, it's still, that looks like about 7.1, maybe. Don't move it right. This needle is kind of, there we go. It looks like 7.1. I think it's still got more to go in terms of decomposing, so it's only going to get better here as time goes on. But it's still pretty close to neutral. So we will do the same trick with our, didn't bother cleaning it, doesn't matter if you're crossing it over, because we're mixing these guys up anyway. We'll do the same technique. Okay, there's multiple ways you can mix this stuff for application. If you're doing application over a large area, you might want to consider some form of a Venturi jet siphon, like a Mazzi injector, that would get you your diluted fertilizer applied over a broader area in a faster way. You could also use that either as you know, spraying it on the ground itself with a hose connected to the Mazzi injector, and we'll show a link up there to what a Mazzi injector is, so you can kind of get an idea. But it's, or you could use it for in your drip irrigation too. So it could be attached to a point at the beginning of your drip irrigation area, so that, you know, you can take a diluted bucket of fertilizer and get it applied vis-a-vis your drip. In this case, what we're going to be doing is we're just going to be using 3 gallons of it on some of our overwintering dianthus, and just kind of give them a little boost. These are going to be outdoor, and so they're, you know, we'll get a little rain tonight, but it's actually not supposed to be too bad. So today's a good day to put this in. So what's the dilution ratio? If I got 3 gallons in this container, and I want to get a approximately between a 1 to 250 and a 1 to 300 dilution. To make it easy, if you use 2 tablespoons, it's approximately 1 to 274 parts of water. So, and it's easy, you can, you know, just use a tablespoon itself, or in this case, I have a container, little scoop here that has marking on it that shows teaspoons and tablespoons. Also, if you're metric, what we're talking about is putting 30 mil in approximately roughly 11,000 liters, somewhere in that. Is that right? No, 11,000 milliliters. Excuse me, 11,000 liters would be huge. Back that up. 11 liters or 11,000 milliliters. So you're putting in 30 per 11,000. All right, so I'm just going to kind of show you guys. This is what the material looks like. It's pretty fine. Okay, and I've got it at approximately 2 tablespoons. That's it for 3 gallons of water. So I'll just start flooding in my water, and I'll just kind of put it in. Make my container a little bit. Okay, we filled the container with 3 gallons, and if you kind of zoom in here with the camera a little bit, you can see that the water's not, you know, super cloudy, but it's definitely looks like it's got something in it. And actually, from an odor standpoint, it's very almost not noticeable. So this is enough to give to your plants on, roughly, like I said, a 7 to 14 day rotation. Try to hit, it to be consistent, and do it over several times. And as you notice this, as you go forward, you should begin to notice that your plants are responding to it. If your plants aren't responding to it, then you might want to think about what's the problem with the plant itself.
What is the response you're looking for?
You should see a general vigor of the plant.
Greener or
a little bit greener.
or
If
growing?
it's in the vegetative growth stage, it'll be growing. If it's in the blooming stage, you should be getting plenty of buds.
Do you pour this on blooms?
No, this is going to be applied at the base of the plant. So if it got onto some of the leaves on the base of the plant, it's not that big of a deal because it's pretty diluted. The idea is this is a soil feed. Okay, it's not a foliar feed. It's not going to hurt the plant if it gets on the foliage, but the intent of this is to get into the biology of the soil itself.
Okay.
Okay. One last thing.
How do you store it?
That's the magical thing. You want to store it in a container that can be airtight. Okay. This has still got some biology in it. It's only been 2.5 months. So it's still got a little bit of activity going on in the solution itself. You kind of want to keep it away from light, and you want to keep it stored in a cool place, and it should be fine. You could use a bottle, if you want to decant it into a bottle that you can screw the top on. Again, you think about it, it was being made in an airless environment, so it's not going to hurt it to not have any air. And, it should be fine for, a couple of months, maybe even longer. It depends on, how well it's stored.
How about the solution?
The solution
Do you
itself
need
should be
to-
applied immediately. You don't want to pre-mix the solution to let it sit for, a week or so and then get around to applying it.
So we make what you know you're going to use?
Use it, yeah. Don't make any more than what you're going to use.
Okay.
And that's why you got the concentrate here. And it's kind of the same logic as, even if you're applying any kind of fertilizer, it's kind of like, if you're mixing it, you typically want to use what you're mixing for. Don't mix ahead and think that 3 or 4 days from now we'll apply the rest, because again, this does still have some live biology in it, and it's not that it's going to hurt the plants, but it may not be the optimum. It may also, if it's left in an open container, might attract insects and things of that nature that you don't want attracted to it. Mosquitoes or whatever, depending on the area you're living in. It's like an open water source. You don't want to do that.
Okay.
So
make what you need.
Make what you need and apply it. And again, it's a soil drench. And again, low
Amount.
parts, per, you want to be at a low application
Less is better.
Less is better. More, not so much.
Not so much. Okay.
Okay, so let's apply this to our winter dianthus, and I'll show you just how we do it. Okay, this is a bed of overwintered dianthus we planted last, I guess it was September we stuck it in. We did a video on that too about how we went about it. So they're kind of like in a winter dormant phase here, but they're gonna start growing a little bit. And the reason I decided to give these guys a little bit of a boost here at this point is that some of the plants have a little bit of yellowing going on, and we do have to do a little weeding in here. And I just wanted to kind of give them just a little bit of a shot of something. Our weather is supposed to be mild for the next week, so we're talking about daytime temps approaching 50s and nighttime down in the low 40s, high 30s. So things should be okay from the standpoint of it should actually get a benefit to the plant. This is a 10-foot bed approximately, and it's approximately 4 feet wide. The 3 gallons should be more than enough to give these guys a boost. So what we'll try to do is just, since I'm not hooking up to my irrigation system, I'm just going to use this coffee can as a scoop and just kind of generally give the whole bed a nice little soak. And there isn't much to it other than, you can get it on the leaves. It's not going to matter, but you try as much as you can to get it on the soil. And let it kind of soak in.
Soaking in nicely.
Yes, it is. It's doing okay. This bed's got good soil structure.
Yeah, a lot of times our soil, when we do something like this, it would run off.
We have had that problem.
But this is looking really good.
We do have a few weeds in here, but it's not too bad. Some slug damage, but that's to be expected this time of year.
It's wet Oregon.
Yeah. Now, can you smell anything now that I'm doing this?
No, but the wind has come up. So I'm assuming that that's also moving it out. But no, I don't smell anything.
If it was really that repulsive, you would probably notice it.
Yeah, I usually do on that kind of thing. But
so we're not trying to give it, this massive, drenching where you're there's already plenty of moisture in the soil, so
it's not that it needs to be watered, it just needs to be fed.
A little bit here, and then I got a little bit of a row on the outside to do, and then we'll be done.
Now that you're close to me, no, I don't smell anything. Unless it's just you.
I smell you. All right. Okay, so that was a pretty simple application of the Jadam Liquid Fertilizer. Again, we're using somewhere between 1 to 250 to 1 to 300 dilution. You want to keep that dilution small. Don't go 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or 1 to 1. It will actually throw the system around your roots of your plants out of balance, and you'll probably end up with some damage to the plants itself. And so the idea is small movements make big waves. Or what is it that was said in The Patriot with Mel Gibson? Aim small, miss small. Kind of the same idea. You want to just keep it in a gradual movement. What you're trying to do is maintain the balance and keep the movement going in the right direction. So I want to thank you guys for watching today. Hope you have a happy new year, and as always, stay safe out there and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.